What's going on, everyone? This is Brian Turner with the No Stress Midwest podcast. We're in season 7. This focus of this season has been professional athletes and just what they've done to kind of get at that level and stay at a high level, both physically, both cognitively, emotionally, all of that. Today, we're joined by a huge guest, Christian Ramirez of the Columbus Crew. Christian, how's it going, my man?
Pretty good, man. All good. Thanks for having me on.
No, for sure, dude. I know it's very rare that I get someone in season during this time frame. You said you've had a couple days off. So what's that been like in the middle of end of regular season, start of postseason? What's that time like?
It's been good. Just to hit the refresh button. I think we're almost at a record amount of games this year for an MLS side. I think we're at like 48. Yeah, it's been a nice little break. Watching the first wild card matchup last night.
Crazy
And
game,
just
crazy,
yeah,
huh?
yeah, just spending some time with the kids and the wife. Getting ready to get back to training tomorrow.
Yeah, you took the kids to school. I mean, are you a big name there? Does everyone line up when they know that you're driving to drop off the little babies?
No, so when I picked up my girl yesterday from first grade, uh her friend waved at her, and then like four or five other kids were waving behind. It was pretty funny. I was like, Zara, they're waving at you? And they're like, no, Dad, they're waving at you. And I was like, uh yeah, so it's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, let's give a little background. I mean, I talked about I'm excited to have you on, not only because we've maintained a friendship since last year in a coaching course I was helping out on, but man, like just watching you on TV, I feel like every game you're scoring, you're assisting, your front three at Columbus is just like absolutely buzzing, man. So just to kind of set the tone for that, I saw NAIA All American, 23 goals and 6 assists, which is wild in a season. Um, just absolutely wild there. Set the school record in points. 11 years you've now been playing professionally, which is no easy task, right? I think a
Mm.
lot of people look at it as just getting there. But I really want to put the emphasis on how do you stay at that level, right? So you've played at the USL, NASL, MLS, US men's national team. You've got an MLS Cup, a Leagues Cup, 3-time NASL Best 11, 2-time Golden Boot, and over 140 goals, which is like, as a striker, I mean, you're paid to just do that, right? Put the
Yeah.
ball in the back of the net. So, just with all of that there, kind of talk to us. What's this tenure been like of you playing at this high level and staying there? How do you do it day in and day out? 48 games in a season, right? Like, what do you do to stay at this level?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, people have to understand the amount of work that it goes into. I prepare my body in the off season to be able to withstand a long season, and then the hiccups that happen throughout the season, just how to bounce back from it. But yeah, I mean, it's a long process,
Yeah.
especially now at 33. I've learned what helps my body, what works for me, what doesn't work for me. I've invested in my body. I bought a cold plunge. I have a sauna. I have a game ready machine. I have the Normatex. So I've been adding, and it wasn't just one purchase. It's been
Right.
one
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. Right.
When I was in the NASL, I bought the Normatex. I was like, oh, I hit a gold bonus. I'm gonna get these Normatex instead of, hey, I hit this gold bonus. I'm gonna go buy
New
this set of,
car.
yeah, new car, these
Yep.
Gucci shoes, or this and
Yep.
that. And so I just started accumulating those things in recovery. And then yeah, I started to figure out better eating habits as I started to get into the league. And the hardest thing, like you said, is being able to maintain it once you got here.
Hmm.
Mostly it's, I don't want to say it's easy, but the easiest part is getting in. And now the toughest part is being able to stay in and finding people throughout the league that have been around for 10, 12, 15 years. You look at guys like Kai Kamara, who's been around for 20 years, and asking questions. what's worked for them, what hasn't, how did they evolve, and now that I'm at 33, I'm continuing to evolve and making sure that I'm here for longer than people gave me credit for.
Yeah, well, and you've had it, I mean, and I'd say a non-traditional path getting to the MLS, which I think speaks even more to you as a person and your discipline and the work rate, right? But you brought up something there that I had to smile at, right? Where you're like, the easiest part of this journey is getting here.
Mhm.
And you look at so many athletes, myself is one of them included, that started off playing and thought the hardest part was just trying to make it to that level, right? But now here we are. You're saying I'm investing money now and my time into recovery of my body. You're doing all the necessary steps. You're asking those questions. When did that kind of flick on with you? And, I'm sure you weren't,
Mhm.
first out, at 20 and you're like, hey, I'm about to invest in my body, right? What
Yeah,
was it that kind of sparked that?
I think around, I would say 2016, the last year of my NASL going into my MLS. Um, I was flying at the start of the MLS season, and then I got injured. I had a hamstring injury. It was my first muscle injury ever, um, and I didn't realize what was going on. Whatever. 6 weeks of rehab. I trained one day, and it popped again, and I was like, "What's going on?" So that happened, and that sort of was like a wake up call. Like, okay, I've always been a hard worker, done all the extra stuff, pushed my body, this, that. So I started asking questions around that time and started taking my recovery more seriously. When people would ask me if I wanted a massage, I would just be like, nah, I'm good, good. But now I would get on the table. I would go in early and do some prehab. I started to take a different approach, and that was probably when it fully clicked. Asked for a meal plan,
Hmm.
uh, everything, and then started just to find that balance because for something that worked for me might not work for you, and vice versa. And so it's about trying stuff, seeing what makes you feel good, seeing what gives you results, and sticking with it. Many times I have these conversations with my younger brothers. They see results with stuff going well, and then all of a sudden they stop doing what's getting them the good results, and then they have a bad game or a bad little stretch or an injury, and then they get back to the stuff that makes them feel good, instead of continuing that path. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think it's a good point you brought up as far as it was an injury, and it was your first injury, right? And you're playing at a professional level at that point. So, I mean, very very fortunate in that way.
Hmm.
Um, but I think you brought up a point. Not everyone understands what goes into the what you see on Saturday night on Apple TV, right? They just think, oh man, this guy just shows up and they just play, and then that's that.
Yeah,
But the massages, the cold plunges, the cryo, the Normatex, all of that stuff is what you don't see. And it's not the glamorous part of it, right? But it's what keeps you there.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
so during your time, right, you've played in USL Pro at the time, now would be called the Championship, played at the NASL, MLS. Within those three levels, how would you say you as a player, what were you able to take from each one of those leagues to kind of set you up for where you are today?
um, I took the grind from that USL, being able to endure bus rides of 10, 14 hours to play on a Friday, to play then I will never forget the trip from Charlotte to Dayton, Ohio on a bus to play in Dayton, Ohio on a Friday afternoon at a high school with about 20 people there, to then finish that game and bus from Dayton, Ohio to Chicago to play on the Saturday against the Chicago Fire Reserves, and then bus all the way back from Chicago to Charlotte. And it's like that gave me an appreciation of like, look, if I can withstand this, anything else that comes my way is is going to be easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we made it to the USL final against Orlando City. Um, and I scored 2 goals, and we bust from Charlotte to Orlando City for the final. And so when I have conversations with kids that now are signing their first deal at 16, 17 in MLS Next Pro, and uh, like telling you, you don't understand how good you have it.
Yeah.
Like, take advantage of this, because I had to have a gym membership playing professionally to be able to get into the gym.
That's crazy.
I,
That's
the,
crazy.
we we would have Subway before games on the road. Like,
Yeah.
it it's a lot different, and you have so much more um, in front of you that you could use uh, to get to where you want to be. So that's been something that I realized really early, that I think it set the tone for myself that nothing was going to be able to bother me. And my first year in the MLS, Minnesota didn't have a training facility for the first 9 months, so
Hmm.
we were going and changing in a hockey locker room, and then training on a random field. Like, it nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah, well, and that kind of leads me into my next part of you were part of Minnesota United when they transitioned from the NASL to the MLS, right? So, um, what was that transition like? We obviously know there wasn't the training facility. It's still new, but
Mhm.
it wasn't like they just woke up on a Friday and said, "Hey, let's turn this thing pro," and then Sunday they were there. So, kind of talk to us about that transition, the locker room situation, the fields, the home games, the travel. How was all of that like, especially compared to now in just the MLS with your time at Columbus?
Yeah. So being in the NASL with Minnesota, it was one of the top teams in the NASL in terms of attendance, in terms of having a facility, that was to the standards of the NASL at that time. Um, the way we were treated, it helped that Minnesota was a Delta hub, so we flew everywhere Delta, direct. And so then it's obviously a huge step when the team decides to go MLS. Um, and I got lucky enough to be brought back. Um, and yeah, the standards of MLS are obviously a lot higher in
Yeah,
facilities and stuff. So um, they were remodeling the training ground that first year because they couldn't do it leading up to it, because we were in there
in
using it for the
season.
NASL.
Right, right.
Um, so that took some time, and the, the glitz and glamour of the MLS really was there. It's completely different now because of the chartering flights now.
Hmm.
You were going through normal TSA, you were flying economy, um, that whole deal. But um, like I said, Minnesota has it nice because it's a Delta hub.
Right.
Whereas, like, I had heard stories, if you weren't in a place that you get direct, you're going a day extra. Um, Even though when we flew West Coast, when we flew from Minnesota to LA, we'd go on a Thursday, um, get there Friday, play Saturday, fly back Sunday. So that's 4 days of the week gone.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Now it's a lot better, obviously, with chartering. You're playing on Saturday, flying back that same night.
Yeah.
You almost get a day back of your life, to be able to get ready for what's to come the following week, or midweek. So yeah.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure I mean, you just have to hope that the longer you do something, the better you get at it and the more like solid the practices become. But I mean, you're talking about catching vans or a bus, from state to state, which sounds like USL too,
Yeah.
so it's crazy to see how that's come, right? So now I see you on Instagram and it's the chartered flight and they have the server that's there for you. You get probably extra bags of peanuts if you want, right? So
Yeah.
life has got to be good there. Um, so you've spent a lot of time here in the US. You were over in Scotland in the first division Scottish League at Aberdeen. Um, what was your time like over there? How did that kind of come about? What was it like? You played in the Europa League, so what's a night playing in Europe, right? I hear you can't
Yeah.
beat it. So just talk to us about your time in Scotland and how that kind of came about.
Yeah, so it came about through a former trainer that I played with, that I did some training with in one off season. He posted a story that he got an assistant job at Aberdeen. I just said congrats. My contract was running out at
Yeah,
Houston at the time. I had about 4 months left, and I just said congrats to him. And then I get a message back like 2 days later. Hey, what's your contract situation like? Like I was like, it's up in a couple months.
yeah,
He goes, give me your agent's information. We're looking for a forward. I think you do really well here. I was like, yeah, I passed it along, thought nothing of it.
for sure.
A few days later, my agent says, hey, they're going to make Houston an offer for you. I guess they're serious. Are you interested? And I said,
I
yeah, I
guess
mean,
they're serious.
yeah, it'd be my last opportunity to play abroad, I thought,
Yeah,
at 31. Like, sure, would enjoy it. My wife said, yeah, let's go. So, yeah, a few weeks later, it worked out. Uh, Played. It was awesome. Be able to experience a different culture,
hmm
uh, different parts of the world. Travel during FIFA breaks with my family.
hmm
Um, Played in Baku, Azerbaijan, against Karabakh in European nights. It was special. You know, that's something that's on everybody's bucket list.
yeah,
Uh, COVID took a little bit. It was the end of COVID, so uh, that eliminated a little bit of like the away support, being able to travel to the Europe games, which sucked. But um, yeah, it was to play for a historic club like that was really cool.
yeah. What was I mean, listen, the game is the game, right? That doesn't change no matter where you are, but did you notice or see a difference in like around the training pitch, whether it was on-field stuff, off-field stuff, fans? I mean, I know you said it was during COVID, so I'm sure they were
Yeah,
probably very strict with fans kind of being at the training grounds where you pull up and stuff,
yeah.
but
No, I think more so the fans. What I experienced was like being in such a small town.
hmm
And Aberdeen is not really a small town. It's I think second or third biggest in Scotland, but um, that's that's it. Like
yeah,
Aberdeen Football Club, that is their life.
yeah,
You win on a Saturday afternoon, and you have the keys to the city that day.
yeah,
You lose, and it's go have dinner at home.
yeah,
And I found that out very quickly, and I enjoyed that. Um, I the manager that took me there got fired after 7 months, and then completely the script changed, and like you lost some of that with the fans. They started to turn on you and stuff like that, and that part I hadn't experienced yet. And I'm thankful now looking back at it that I experienced it. And it was good to experience it, but when it became a little personal with my family at one point, that's when I drew the line. But yeah,
yeah.
I look back at it, and it was a fun time to experience that.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you've had, I mean, quite a storied career. If you can think back, let's say even to your college days, maybe, what was your first pro moment or the first moment where you were just like, damn, like this is it?
Uh, it'd be easy to go back to my first pro goal,
Okay.
but it was against Antigua and Barbados. They were still in the USL somehow. Um,
Really?
but yeah,
Huh.
it was their last year. They played every game on the road. But I would say the moment I realized like, yeah, I want to do this. I'm here. This is what
Mhm.
I want to experience. Was the USL championship that year, against Orlando City, because we played in front of 20,000 people and I scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
And I looked around and I told my dad, I was like, this is it. Like I can do it here. I can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
And I've always told myself like how much of a student of the game I am, how my style of play, like the better I have, how much better my teammates are,
Mhm.
I'll produce more because I put myself in really good situations. And the higher level players will see that and will find me and will have a really good connection. And that's happened throughout my career.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, that moment in the USL Championship, playing in front of that many people, I was like, oh, this is
Going to
addicting.
brace. This is
Yeah,
yeah, that
yeah, this
feeling.
is the yeah.
Now from that goal to your most recent one, right? And I say this to the my kids I coach, right? The feeling of winning never gets old. Doesn't matter how many games you win. Scoring goals, does it still feel the same as that moment or your first goal as a kid? Or does it kind of do you get used to it after 100 goals and then it kind of falls off?
No, it's a rush every time.
Yeah.
It's a different rush each time though. That's the beauty of it.
Okay. All right.
The meaning behind each goal is so different. There's no one goal that can replicate each feeling. You
I like
score a
that.
goal coming off the bench, like I go to Leagues Cup this year. I scored off the bench coming in against Miami
Hmm.
to give us life, like down 2-0 and make it 2-1. Like that rush of grabbing the ball and going back to midfield to say like
Yep.
we got this, to Eastern Conference Championship scoring the winner,
Yep.
like
Yep.
that's a different rush.
Yep.
Um, Scoring a regular season goal at the beginning of the game at home is different than scoring one away. Like that, you get a different, and I think that's why it's so addicting, and
Yeah.
that's why it never gets old. And you want it every single time to replicate and replicate because
Yep.
you want that. You want to feel what's new in this situation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's tough to describe to people that aren't in the sports world, right? Like that
Mm-hmm.
feeling, I say you score a late minute game winner, 89th minute. That feeling is something like I get chills thinking about it, right? Because it's like those are moments that make all of the BS that you go through every day. Like those are the moments that make, hey, this is why I do this for
Mm-hmm.
because I'm chasing that feeling right there.
Yeah.
So with that, the goals you're scoring, right? And as a striker, it's a pro or con to it, right? You're judged by the amount of goals you score. So when you're not scoring goals, you're having people, chirping at you. Oh man, I could have tapped that one in. How'd he miss that? It's a sitter, right? That's all he has to do is keep his eyes open. You hear that stuff from the fans. Mentally, how do you and emotionally, how do you kind of process that? Are you someone that's like, I'm no social media comments, I'm just not gonna read it? Are you oh, it's funny, I can deal with it. You said you draw the line when they bring the family involved, as
Mm-hmm.
most people will. Just kind of how do you deal with that process?
Uh, I've done all spectrums of it to see what obviously works for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I went through towards the end of my time in Scotland. I would say I learned a lot about myself on the mental aspect. And now it doesn't bother me because I've always focused on making sure that first and foremost, when I'm on the field, my team wins, no matter if I'm scoring or not. And I think that's something that I've tried to pass down to kids I've mentored, kids that have signed contracts or that I've helped out during my coaching course, stuff like that. Um, is how are you able to influence the game in those moments that you're not scoring a goal?
Yeah.
Because the goal scoring is going to come and go. It's going to be you're going to be hot for a bit. You're going to be cold for a bit. But as long as you can do other things, it's going to keep you on the field, and your team's winning when you're on the field. That's the most important part. Um, but yeah, I just try and stay level-headed throughout. I think that's something that has helped me prolong this career as long as I have. Is I'm the same person when I score as I'm the same person when I don't score. I'm
Yeah.
the same person when I start that when I don't start. And I think you gain a lot of respect in the locker room doing that. I've had teammates that that are a completely different person when they
Yeah.
score and they
Yeah.
start, and you that fluctuation is tough to handle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're always at one level, no matter what, you're always going to be ready for the next situation, and nothing's going to be able to affect you and phase you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really help me in that aspect. I can be mad when I don't start. It doesn't mean that I'm going to change who I am. I'm going to be ready when my name's called upon,
Yep.
and then when I'm starting, I'm not going to change how I act with my teammates or how I carry myself because I see what it's like on the other side.
Hmm.
So that goes a long way.
Yeah. No, that's really good advice there. Um, well, Christian, we're here. We talked about the end of the regular season, postseason starting up. Crazy game last night in PKs with Atlanta and Montreal. I'm guessing you're hoping that the games don't go down to the wire like that for you all. But 8 goals, 4 assists so far this season. What's the team's mindset going into tomorrow to start training and then going into the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, the first couple of days will just be getting getting back to it, um, getting our bodies going, and then um, the last 3 days or so of the build up, then we start to really fine tune the game plan and see what the coaching staff is thinking. This is always interesting now because we just finished playing the Red Bulls on decision day,
Hmm.
and now we have them for the first round.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so it'll be interesting because leading up to the first game, oh, the decision game, we didn't have a game plan going forward.
Right.
It was almost like Wilfred said, "Hey, here, do your thing. Um, enjoy yourselves tonight. Because if we play these guys, I won't, we're gonna then we'll
Well,
figure it
yeah,
out."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was good. We had some success. We didn't have some success. A really good game, and it bodes well for a really good series.
Right. Well, yeah, and I mean, you mentioned playing under Wilfred Nancy, and while you're there, you've won the MLS Cup last year. You've got the Leagues Cup, right? So you're going for back to back. Um, what's that environment been like under him as a manager, and playing alongside the greatness of like a Darlington Nagbe there, right? How does that make you a better player?
Mhm.
How's that helped you?
Uh, Great players bring the best out of you,
Hmm.
because the standards set every day. Um, Obviously, Darlington is, in my eyes, the best central midfielder that's ever played in MLS. Um,
A few people have said that that
yeah,
I know. Yeah.
just, it's what you see on the weekend is what you see during the week. Um, some stuff is just so natural to him, and he's just incredible both as a player and as a human. And I think that's why he gains so much respect from everyone. And then Wilfred is a mastermind. He likes to evolve. He likes to change the game. He likes to push the boundaries. Um, he said something when we first last year, early on in the year. He said, "Look, if I start you in a position, it's because I think you're gonna have success. I will never start you in a position to make you fail."
Hmm.
And that immediately resonated with me. I was like, all right, like I can respect that because there's been plenty of times where I felt and players have felt like, hey, this coach started me one time, but he started me at a position just to say he started me, and then
Yep.
I
Yep.
didn't play well.
And then
So
he's done. Yeah.
yeah, so that resonated with a lot of players, and you see the buy-in from the top guy to the last guy on the roster. Um, Everybody feels really important, and everybody has contributed this year. So that's my main takeaway from him on a non-tactical aspect.
Right.
And on a tactical aspect, I've learned so much. He's opened doors for me to be able to put my own imprint on stuff. And then last year doing the B license, it was very interesting to be able to replicate that with the U17s that I was working with.
Hmm.
Um, and seeing like, God, man, this is crazy to be able to pass this down.
Yeah. Yeah. Influence people, right? And I think you were working there with Dan Locke, right? He's
Hmm.
the academy director there. We spoke. Him and I were speaking about you doing your course there. Um, so I think that's it's good to see the influence, right, as a manager can have on you, but then the influence a manager can
Mhm.
have on you. So now you pay it forward, if you will, and
Yeah.
try to give it back to the kids. Um, which is a good segue. I'm glad you ended with that, because the next question is, before we kind of wrap up here, is what's life looking like for you after you hang up the boots for the final time? You mentioned the coaching course. Is that something you think you might want to go down? You want to take some time off and take your kids to school, see who else waves at you on the way there? What's kind of your plan with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm in a two-avenue path, at the moment. Whether it's, do I want to pursue the coaching because I am passionate about it, and I have done it when I first was playing professionally. I was coaching to make extra money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or do I go the agency route because my agent is like said like I would do really well in working with him and stuff like that. Um, I don't know. I definitely at this moment I would lean more towards the coaching side of it because
Yeah.
I would want to be home more. I know the agency, like it's initially is a really grind process of being away for a month or two at a time during the windows being open. So I think I'm leaning more towards the coaching side of it. Um, Now, at what level, that's to be determined because of
Yeah.
opportunities and stuff like that. But yeah, I have one buddy who's got his A license and he's working on his pro soon, and we've always discussed about like I have my foot in the door if I'll bring him along and he continuing to learn together in that aspect. We grew up playing together, and um, so yeah, I think more so that route. I think.
Okay. Well, Christian, we're wrapping up. Um, I want to ask or end it with this final question for you. If there's one person that's listening to this podcast that has the aspirations of playing at a professional level at any sport, right? You can obviously only speak
Mhm.
on soccer here. What advice would you give them um, to help them get there?
Um, I've asked this to myself, what I would tell myself, younger self before. Um, I would just enjoy the process of it because those are some of the best moments that have helped me. The the three combines I went to, um, being offered my first pro contract, like those small moments, though you don't get those back, and it's such a short career. So
Hmm.
enjoy enjoy these moments, and the moment you do get there, you'll have way more appreciation than anybody who has been there the whole time.
Yeah.
Um, because everybody's story is different, and make your story the best one.
Yep. No, I love it, dude. And that was going to be kind of my second part, is if you could offer yourself some advice, what would it be? So you handled
Oh,
both of that for me. Um, but yeah, dude, I think that's great. I think that's great. Anything that you want to end other than that before we wrap things up here?
no, I think we've touched on a bit of everything.
Awesome. Well, Christian, I want to thank you so much again for being a guest. For the fans that are listening, right, we've got his podcast. We've got playoffs of his coming up. Starting, is it this Saturday or is it next Saturday?
It is we play on Tuesday,
Tuesday.
twenty
Oh,
ninth.
even better. So we got some
Yeah, we play 29th.
midweek MLS action.
Yeah,
Um, so good luck during the playoffs, right? I've definitely got an eye on Columbus Crew, and wishing you guys do well. Um, yeah, thanks for everything, man, and we will chat soon, okay?
no problem. Thank you.
Yep,
Appreciate it.
everyone, thank you for listening to the No Stress Midwest podcast. We will catch you next week. Cheers.